Hey, this is Professor O'Donoghue, and this is Digital Systems 2, the summer course. So I want to give you a quick, little introduction on the course. Most of you have probably had me before, but just in case you haven't, let's go over a couple of things. First of all, the Start Here tab is the first thing you should click on. In this tab, you will find, in this folder, apparently, you will find your course schedule, which shows all the assignments for the summer schedule. And then you will always also find your course syllabus that gives all the information about the course. So after you watch this video and review the course schedule and the course syllabus, you will need to take the course introduction quiz. You will not stay in this class if you don't take the course introduction quiz. It is your no-show assignment. You will also need to get the OneDrive app. You're going to need this cloud storage for your flowcharts that you create. If you don't get the OneDrive app, then you'll need to get a flash drive and bring it with you every time you come to the lab to do labs. Excuse me. Okay, so let's look at a couple of other things. Let's go to the calendar. So all your assignments are on the calendar. They are also on the course schedule file. Compare the two. If there is a discrepancy on dates, email me and find out which one is correct. Sometimes Blackboard does weird things and assignments don't show up, or dates change or something like that. Usually it's like user error. So just email me and just clear it up so that all your assignments will be on time, because I don't accept late assignments unless you have gotten previous permission or you have a doctor's excuse. Check your announcements each day. There are none right now, but that's how I communicate with you, being that we don't meet for lecture each week. Lessons is where all the lesson materials will be held. Your tests and exams are in this folder. It has all your tests and your final exam material, and I'll put some practice final exam material in here as well. And then you have your lab assignments. The lab will be open from 10:30 to 7:30, Monday through Thursday, 10:30 to 4:30, Friday and Saturday. And only the Marietta lab is open on Saturday. Your labs, one of your labs I know is due on Saturday. So let's talk about a couple of things when it comes to the lab. First of all, the first lab you have will be an orientation lab, where the lab assistants will work with you on some of the software that you will use in this course, because there's quite a bit of software to use in this course. So if we go in here, other thing you need to realize is that every lab must be preceded by the lab quiz. So you have to take the lab quiz and you must make an average of 70 in order to see the instructions for the lab. And you can take the quiz, I think 3 or 4 times, and it's going to take your average, and you need an average of 70. Okay. There is a very particular way that I require you to create your lab documentation. So let's talk about that really quickly. So just remember that if you've had Professor Quattlebaum, we are very different when it comes to lab documentation, and you need to follow the guidelines for this course. So when you create your lab documentation, you'll create a Word file, and there are certain sections that must be included. The first section is the program overview. In this section, you're going to explain exactly how this program works or how it functions. And like a paragraph, how does it work? Next, you must create a flowchart or else pseudocode for your program. Now, for the flowchart, basically, it's an algorithm that gives steps on what the program is doing in order to complete the specific task that you have. Pseudocode is the same thing, except you don't use shapes. You just use words, and you just list out in a list the different steps you would take in order to create a program that has a specific task. So a lot of times, once you create the pseudocode, and you should do this first before you ever start to try to create a program, because once you create the flowchart or the pseudocode, it's going to be able to help you think it through, and then you should be able to transcribe the flowchart or the pseudocode into assembly code. So the whole point of the flowchart pseudocode is to help you think through the program and figure out the steps that is going to be required to create the program. You only need one or the other. You don't need both. So some people like flowcharts because it's visual and you can see it. Some people just like pseudocode. You get to choose which one you want to do, but it is a separate section. Okay. Next, you have a chip diagram. You must use software, Fritzing software, and create a chip diagram of the 8051. If I were you, I suggest you save this diagram and then just reuse it every time you create lab documentation. And that way you don't have to keep drawing it over and over and over. But the chip diagram shows the wiring of your chip. That's the point of it, how you wired it up. So the chip diagram should look just like the circuit board after you have wired up your chip. You must create a copy of your program, and you should just insert the program excuse me, into the assignment box. You can take a snip of the program to put into your documentation, but you should insert a copy of your program in the assignment box as well. And every line of your code should have comments. It is very important to comment your code. And at the very top, you should explain exactly what the program does, put your name and the date. You need a self-reflection. The self-reflection describes any problems that you encountered and what you learned from the lab. And finally, you need to have a picture of your final circuit. Remember, use red wire for power and black wire for ground. You should have your own wire at this point. All of my courses always have a rubric. Make sure you look at the rubric, because if you skip the flowchart, that's 20 points that you have lost from your lab. So just make sure that you are aware that there is a rubric for this course. Okay, so that is the documentation. Let's go back. We have a bunch of how-to files because, like I said, you use a lot of software in this course. All right, so there's Fritzing. That's the software you use to draw your chip diagram. There's Kale Microvision. That is the software that you will use for your programs. There's Real-Term software. That is the software that you will use for your lab assignments. There is Draw.io software. That is the software that you will use for your flowchart. So we have how-tos for all of these, and also you'll be doing a lab orientation where you get exposure to this software before you actually have to do one of your labs. Okay. That's your lab assignments. Okay, and then you have your homework. So all of your homework is due on the due date by 11:59, and you get 3 chances to do your homework, and I take the highest score. All of the material for test 1 is shown in this folder, and also there is a practice test, and the practice test is mandatory. Okay, so you have to take the practice test. It's one of your assignments. Flowcharts are so very important. So make sure that you go over the videos that I have given you on how to create flowcharts, because it is required in this class. It will be required in the capstone class, and you will just come into contact with flowcharts for the rest of your career. All right, that's all I have for you today. Remember, you need to create and you need to schedule a time to meet me. If I have never met you before, let me make sure that it is actually on the schedule. I'm pretty sure it is. Let's see here. Yes, you have to meet with me. You have to schedule a meeting with me by June 8th. Just know I will be out of town for training the week of June 9th through the 15th. So we probably would have to meet the week of June the 16th. Your tests are in the lab, any lab you choose. And the labs, just be aware of when the labs close so that you have enough time to finish your test. Okay, I look forward to meeting you if I haven't. Take care.